What's going on, you guys? Frost here, and I'm back with another video. Today I'll be uploading 3 different videos. The first one is gonna be this one. It's gonna be all about all the item changes they made in this patch. Then the next one will be all about all the mage changes, and the final one will be all about all the jungle changes. So I did it in these like separate things because some people might not want to see an entire time of me going over every single thing in the patch. So I kind of split them up to make it a bit more like, if you want to see it, you can watch it. If you don't want to see it, like, don't watch it. Simple as that. So yeah, let's get into the items first. So I'm gonna start from the top, so mage itemization first. They made a couple of changes here. Mainly Tear of the Goddess, like, this is not going to affect anything at all. It refunds 15 mana, 15% of the mana spent, meaning that it pretty much comes down to about the same amount of mana you get from it as you used to. So nothing much there. This Catalyst is quite a big change. I don't know how I feel about this change. Like, Catalyst used to be a pickup to where you could sustain actually pretty well in lane. It used to be like a good pickup on champions like Kassadin, and for top lane as well, like Maokai. Really, those type of champions. What they did with it, like, 50% of the damage taken from champions is gained as mana. Spending mana restores 20%. This is a good sustain amount now. I'm not really I think this will be to about the same extent of sustain as it used to have. So it's gonna be interesting to see, but I think the sustain will be a bit less in the earlier game, depending on how early you can get the catalyst. But I think the sustain will go up towards like the later stages of having this catalyst. So it's gonna be interesting to see this, but I don't think there's too much changed about this. It's cheaper, so that's nice, I guess. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see on this one. This chalice, I like this change. It doesn't restore any like a lot of mana anymore. Like 2% of missing mana every 5 seconds used to be a lot of restore. Like, that used to be good on champions that used a lot of mana, like Ziggs. Cassio used quite a lot, even though like that was before her E gave her mana back. Like Ziggs, champions that just spam mana bars and lose a lot. I think this is going to be an interesting change because Chalice of Harmony is now going to be an overall sustain item for mages, meaning that you get increased like health regen if your mana is higher than your health, but you get increased mana regen if your earned mana percentage is lower than your health. So that will even out your mana and your health quite effectively, meaning that you can sustain lane pretty well, especially if you like keep your mana bar a bit higher intentionally and don't use your spells as much. If you're getting poked down in health, so you get more health regen. There's going to be quite a few interesting plays with this, and I think this is going to be a pickup that we're going to see quite a bit on certain mages in mid lane, or top lane for that matter. So Lost Chapter. This, I'm not sure, this is a new item, so it's always difficult to tell whether new items will be good or not, but this looks to be pretty good. It's only 900 gold. I'm not sure. Let me see. It builds out a Sapphire Crystal Amplifying Tome, which is not too bad of a build path. It gives 25 AP, it gives 300 mana. Restores 20% of your maximum mana over 3 seconds upon it. This is pretty much gonna be the catalyst effect. So I think for mana, for at least, like, you're not gonna get any health out of leveling up with this, but this is the type of catalyst effect that it, like the previous patch catalyst effect or the old catalyst effect, however you want to see it. Restores 20% of your maximum mana over 3 seconds upon leveling up. Oh my. Game? Yes? Hello? Okay, right. Anyway, restores 20% of your maximum mana over 3 seconds of leveling up. That's gonna be a good amount of sustain. You can pick this up really early. It's only 900 gold, so you can use the mana sustain from this to get you through the early levels. So I think this can be a really good item if you're a champion that needs mana sustain, like Ziggs, like Cassio can use it, like, I don't know, just any champion with like that needs mana. Gonna be a pretty good item, I think. 900 gold is really not much. Finish Codex, just some changes to the ability power and gold. Nothing too much about this. The removal of Will of the Ancients, I think this is like necessary. No one really builds this item. The only champion that I really see this build on is Vladimir sometimes. So I think it was about time that they removed Will of the Ancients. There was no point in having it in the game since no one ever bought it. Yeah, I don't know. The change to Rod of Ages though, I think it's pretty interesting. They removed the item, like, the previous Rod of Ages used to be a really good scaling item on just overall for mages. But they now made it cheaper and they did like remove the scaling. It looks like maybe it's still there, but as far as I can see right here, it doesn't have any scaling anymore. The ability power is reduced mana. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting change. Like, I used to like Rod of Ages on champions like Kassadin and stuff to get it and just really scale. But I think because Rod of the Ages was an item used a lot for like tanky champions such as Maokai and all that kind of stuff. Maokai as Ezreal, what the hell am I saying? No, I mean Echo. I think this is an interesting change. I'm not sure if this covers everything. I can quickly check it right here though. Let me check. Item sets, Rod. Still gives health mana. It still gives a scaling passive. Okay, that's good. It scales up to... yeah, up to 100 ability power still. So it's still going to be a really good scaling item. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty... nothing much has changed. They didn't include everything here. So... I don't know. It still looks like to be a really good scaling item and a really good pickup. It's now only 400 gold cheaper, so that means you can pretty much start scaling 400 gold faster. It gives you a total of, what is it, like 100 AP? Yeah, 100 ability power. That's not too bad. Like, you get 200 extra health, 100 extra mana, 40 extra ability power. So this item gives you 500 health, 400 mana, and 400 ability power, I wish. And 100 ability power. Still gonna be a good item. It used to be 120 ability power, but like that change is not too big. Especially for an item that's now only 2600 gold. So I think it's going to be a really good pickup still for a lot of champions. Especially now because it's cheaper and its skills, like you can start scaling it earlier. Yeah, the Morello's change, I'm not so sure about this one. It used to be a really good item to give you a lot of mana regeneration, but they removed a lot of this mana regeneration from it. Like, all the mana regeneration is gone. Skills and assists now restore your mana, so if you duel a lot with certain mages, you can start sustaining off that. It's not going to be too difficult for champions like... if you were to build this on Diana, I'm not saying you should, but if you were to build this on champions like Diana, and you assassinate people a lot, and you just go for fights a lot, then you might be able to sustain your mana pool quite effectively. 20% CDR is still there. Grieving Wounds is still there, so it's still going to be a good item. Grieving Wounds duration is up, so that's actually profitable. Now it gives you extra mana as well. So that pretty much compensates for the mana regeneration removal. I'm not so sure about that one. I really like the mana regeneration on it, but I guess it's still going to be a really solid item, even though it's 500 gold more expensive now. It does give 100 AP now, so this is going to be an interesting item. I think it's going to be used on still quite a lot of dueling mages, not really sustain mages. I think sustain mages will pretty much pick up this item, since this still gives you all the mana regeneration. So yeah, it also gives you more of the health sustain plus mana sustain, and since like champions that just play on longer range and just spam abilities, their mana is going to be lower than their health, so they're going to get even more mana regeneration from this item. So looking at this, it's only 2250 gold, so this pretty much replaces the mana regen for Morello. So champions like Ziggs and stuff like that will pretty much pick up this item instead of the previous Morello that they used to do for the mana regeneration. But this is still a viable pickup. It still gives you quite a lot of mana, so yeah, it's gonna be either or. Yeah. So, Fear of the Goddess upgrades. I think this was a pretty necessary upgrade. It gives you, it carries over from tier, but the base mana regeneration on these certain items, like the Mana Mune, refunds 15% of the mana spent. I much prefer this one over the mana regeneration on Mana Moon, for example, because refunding 50% of the mana spent is going to be more effective overall for this. Same goes for this. I think refunding mana a certain percentage of the mana spent is more effective than actually giving mana regeneration, because this way your mana bar will go down slower. But especially champions that build these type of items generally tend to get blue buff, so there's not really a point in giving it extra mana regeneration. So if you give it the refunds, however many percentage of the mana spent, it will mean it goes down slower, your mana bar, so you can use your spells more. Instead of using all your spells going through your entire mana bar and then having to wait for your mana to regenerate. So it's gonna be pretty much the same effect overall, but in this case you're gonna be able to spam more with your mana bar and you don't have to wait as long. So that's why I really like that change. Now the Abyssal Scepter, they pretty much balanced the ability power with the magic resist. They brought the ability power 10 down, but boosted the magic resist by 10. They gave it 10% CDR. The aura doesn't apply to means anymore. I mean, that doesn't really make a difference. To be honest, like, sure, if you were to pick this up on early on mid lane, the enemy mid laner had a bit more trouble clearing the wave, but once they get some AP, it doesn't really matter anymore anyway. But I think this change is gonna be fine. I mean, it's still gonna be a great item to pick up for mages against other mages. So yeah, it's pretty much extra magic resist, like 10 AP less, but 10% CDR they gave to the item actually made it a very interesting change, because 10% like the cooldown reduction is really good on mages. I mean, it's pretty obvious, like you get your spells back faster, that's pretty much all you want. So it's gonna be an item we're gonna see more these days, I think. Like, you used to see it quite a bit. Not as often, but you used to see it quite a bit. But like this is gonna be great on champions like Nidalee, on champions like Diana, on champions like any type of mage that just wants to deal with another mage. This is gonna be a great item against LeBlanc, since it now gives more magic resist. So it's a really good change, and I think it's gonna be. I kind of like the change. This is also a great change, the Zhonya's change. The reason I like this change, even though they brought the ability power down by 30, they gave it 10% CDR, which is, I mean, it's fine, it's whatever. But they reduced the cost by 600, so meaning you get your invulnerability effect pretty much 600 gold faster. So yeah, I think this is a good change, because most people, or most champions that get Zhonya's don't really care about any stats but the invulnerability stat. Like, that invulnerability stat is pretty important against champions like Zed and against champions like Karthus. It can be used to pretty much dodge like crucial damage, and that's pretty much what Zhonya's is used for. And now they're actually making it so it's cheaper, so you get the item faster, but it gives you a bit less AP, of course. Like, that's not gonna be that much of a problem. But yeah, I think it's a good change. Even though they upped the stasis cooldown, like, this doesn't really matter either, because upping that cooldown pretty much just means you gotta use your stasis more effectively. Like, use it smarter instead of just pressing the button in certain moments. I don't think this is gonna change much. This is still gonna be an insane item on Diana. I will always get this item like either first or second on Diana, just because it's so good. It allows you to just dive into the enemy team straight up and just press this button, get invulnerability. It's now cheaper, so it's gonna be a lot faster. Like, you can kind of get a lot faster, so you're gonna be able to do those engages a lot faster. So yeah, I think this is a great change. Now the Hextech items. I haven't read this so much, so I'm gonna take a bit slower into this. No longer give spell vamp. I mean, sure. I don't really think that people were getting. Actually, Akali and Vlad used to get this a lot for the spell vamp. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Damaging an enemy with a basic attack shocks them for kills with damage on level. Bonus magic damage, 40 seconds cooldown. So it's pretty much just gonna be an a small extra damage output on this item. I don't know. I don't know if I like it, because they removed the spell vamp from it. Spell vamp was pretty much the only reason that you would get Hextech Revolver. I really not sure why they removed the spell vamp from it. Like, yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. It can still be like a good item. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to test the passive a bit more. So the Hextech GLP 800. 3000 gold, 80 ability power, 300 health, 400 mana. Builds out of a catalyst as well. It's kind of a tanky item. It gives AP. It gives you some mana. Interesting. This is the catalyst effect. And this fires a spray of icy bolts that explode, dealing certain magic damage per level. Enemies hit are slowed by 65%, decaying over 0.5 seconds. Frostbolts. Oh, it has an AP ratio. Okay. So this gives this amount of gives 100 to 200 magic damage from levels 1 to 18. But it also gives an AP ratio. I mean, I'm not sure how this item will work, but it certainly looks like an interesting pickup for certain champions. Slowing enemies pretty much means that if you play champions like Akali, this is not going to be a good item on Akali because this is a wasted stat on her. But if you play champions like Akali that don't have CC, this can actually be helpful to slow people down and stick with people. Not sure which champion this is going to be useful on, but it certainly looks like an interesting champion. Okay. That light went out, I guess. So, Hextech, Proto Belt, 60 AP, 100 health, 10% CDR. Dash forward, and unleashes... Wait, dash forward. How far is this dash? I mean, if this is a dash that can get over walls, this is a really solid pickup for certain champions. Again, like champions like Akali, then this is gonna be a really good pickup. If you can dash over certain walls with this one, then... Okay. That light just went on again. This is interesting. What I was saying is, this is gonna be a really interesting pickup. If this dash goes through walls, I don't know how far this dash is. I'm just reading this off the patch notes right here. But if this dash will give you enough distance to get over certain walls, this is gonna be a really good pickup for mages that aren't as mobile. Meaning that if you are champions like Karthus, if you're like Akali, Akali is pretty mobile with her ult, but she doesn't have any other built-in mobility that can actually hop walls. So this looks to be a very interesting item if you're like Diana as well. I mean, Diana's kind of mobile with her ult, but if you don't have ult, if you use it, like, you can get this item to use it to get over walls and stuff like that, if it were to be able to do this. So, if that is the situation, I will think to look towards this item if you're a very immobile mage, like Brand, like Orianna, like all those type of mages. Might be a very interesting pickup for those champions if you can use the dash to get over walls. So really look to this item if that's possible. The Hextech Gunblade doesn't look like much has changed on this one. It just gives you a little bit of extra damage. Alright, now this is all stuff I'll talk about in another video. The other items. So the boots enhancements have been removed. I mean, sure. I guess, like, I didn't really see people pick up any boot enhancements quite often, to be honest. Like, people used to pick up home guards a lot, but since they removed that from the boot enhancements and put it just on a basic, you get it after 20 minutes, I didn't really see any boot enhancements until the very later stages of the game for people. I mean, I used to love getting the Alacrity enhancement, the extra movement speed on, like, Shyvana and stuff to farm faster. But, I mean, the boot enhancements remove is not going to be that much of an impact. Now, the Devourer change. Let me get this into the same frame. There you go. So yeah, Enchantment Devourer has been removed. I mean, sure. Because the Blood Razor that replaces it is fine. The only thing that's kind of, like, sad about this Devourer, the stated Devourer had the Phantom proc, but now with the Grincy's Rageblade here, now this item has a Phantom proc. And what I don't like about this is the fact that they're just giving Phantom procs away now. I mean, sure, this item costs you 3,600 gold. Oh, itchy nose. This item costs you 3600 gold, but it's a Phantom proc, everyone can get it right now. And you're still gonna build Rageblade on Kayle, you're still gonna build it on Jax, you're still gonna build it on all those champions. And since you can now just build this as a first item on like Kayle, Jax, all that kind of stuff, and get a free Phantom hit with it on those champions, like Kayle is gonna be ridiculous. Jax is going to be ridiculous. This is really... I don't think this is a smart move at all, because you're pretty much giving a free Phantom hit away now. It used to be so that junglers had to farm 30 stacks of the Stated Devourer to get that Phantom hit, but now you can just pick it up as an item. Meaning that this is gonna be like a ridiculous combination. Like, Yi can still get Phantom hit, Shyvana can still get Phantom hit. You can now pick this up on Vi, which is probably not gonna be smart, but you can potentially do it with the Phantom hit. You can pick it up on any champion that is good with Phantom hit, and you don't have to farm for it. I mean, sure, you have to collect 3600 gold, but you don't have to consistently farm your jungle to get the Phantom hit anymore. Which I think is pretty, like, a really dumb move. Like, this is not gonna be beneficial at all. It also gets an extra unhit effect, so this is gonna be affected by the Phantom hit as well. I just really don't think this was a smart decision, because this is gonna put a very unbalanced situation towards champions like Kayle, like Jax, like Master Yi, like Shyvana. If you pick this item up on those champions and still pick up that Phantom hit for just a regular item, you don't even have to farm for it. So you can start pressuring a bit more early game instead of having to take the cost of having to farm for that Phantom hit. Like, the only thing good about the Devourer was that Phantom hit. Like, the rest of it didn't really matter at all. So they pretty much just gave you a really good buff if you were to combine like these two items now. This is pretty much Blade of the Ruined King. It's a bit over exaggerated, but the extra health. I mean, I'm not sure what Blade of the Ruined King is. Let me quickly look this up. Like, Blade of the... There you go. What was it, like 6%? Yeah, 6% of the targets. This is current health and bonus physical damage. I mean, this is target's maximum health as bonus physical damage. This is even better than the fucking Blade of the Ruined King. I mean, sure, if you combine this with Blade of the Ruined King, you're gonna get a serious amount of HP strat. But this, combined with this, is gonna be even more retarded than Blade of the Ruined King now, because this is maximum health, and as you can see right here, this is current health. So, yeah, I think they made quite the mistake with this one. Bloodrazor is gonna be insane on champions like just all the Devourer champions. Champions that Shyvana, Master Yi, Nocturne, Kindred, Warwick even. Just gonna be ridiculous on certain champions. Like, if you go for Master Yi now and just get Bloodrazor into Guinsoo's Rageblade, you're done. Like, your damage is gonna go through the roof. I'm not so sure about this change, to be honest. Actually, I can check what the Rageblade is. It builds out of... Alright, yeah, sure. Pretty much the same thing, but they added a recurve bow to... I mean, sure, whatever. I don't know, man. I really... Like, the Devourer move is fine and all, but... What they put in place of it, and that they actually gave Rageblade the fucking Phantom hit. Like, yeah. This looks to be very interesting. I'm gonna have to test this a bit on certain champions, like Kindred, like Shyvana, all those stated champions that you used to play. But, yeah. Bloodrazor, by the way, you pick this up on certain junglers. You don't pick it up on all junglers, because, well, that's gonna be stupid, of course, all junglers. But you're still gonna pick it up on champions that do a lot of auto attacks and don't have the best AD scaling. So Shyvana is for a good example. Master Yi is a good example. Nocturne, I mean, it's either or. You can get Bloodrazor, you can also get Warrior, but I think Bloodrazor will be a lot better on Nocturne. Kindred, this is gonna be ridiculous on Kindred. Like, you don't even have to farm to get the maximum effect of your jungle item now on Kindred. You can just get Bloodrazors into potentially Guinsoo's Rageblades. Potentially. I say potentially because, well, I'm not sure if the Phantom hit still works with 4 hits on ranged champions. So, if it's still that delayed effect, I don't know if it says anything right here about it. I mean, I think it will still be 4 hits. If it's 2 hits now, every other basic attack, that's gonna be pretty dumb on Kindred. Like, you might see people build the Blood Razor into Gwynch's Rageblade on Kindred. If it's every 2 auto attacks, like just auto attack and then hit the Phantom hit. If it's every 4 hits, people are probably not gonna build this item on Kindred at all, because then it will not be effective. But if it's every 2 for ranged champions as well, then you're just gonna see this all over the map. Blood Razor into Rageblade on Kindred. Yeah. If not the case, you're gonna probably see just Blood Razor into maybe Blade of the Ruined King, maybe like Phantom Dancer, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but the combination of Blood Razor with Rageblade on most champions now is gonna be pretty retarded. So yeah, Shyvana, Masti, all those other stated Devourer champions, the old stated Devourer champions. Rageblade is gonna be a pickup now because the Phantom hit was applied to the Rageblade. So I'm gonna have to look to this, but I don't really like that change. They pretty much just gave the Phantom hit away. Like, not even a jungle, like, you don't even have to farm, as I said, you don't even farm for it. Just kill. You can just pick this item up, get a free Phantom hit. That's already gonna be retarded. Like, Jax can just pick this item up as a top laner, get a free Phantom hit. Like, all those champions are gonna scale so painfully now. Anyway, moving on. I talked about that enough. The Black Cleaver. They made it 400 gold cheaper, and they only removed 5 of the AD. I mean, great, good buff. 400 gold for 5 AD. It's nothing. Worth. I take this any day of the week. This is still gonna be the best armor pen item in the game. On like tanky champions, of course, if you're an AD carry and you don't have any health, then the other 2 armor pen items or the Last Whisper items are better. But I think still Black Cleaver is pretty much the best armor pen item in the game. And it's now just cheaper for 5 AD. Like 5 AD is nothing. Alright, this it got a slight HP buff and a magic resist nerf. I mean, whatever. You know. Banshee's Veil. They made it quite a lot cheaper. Meaning that you can actually get the... Oh, they also changed the recipe. Oh, you can actually now build it out of a Negatron cloak. That's interesting. Yeah, okay. That's actually pretty nice. Now you can pick up Negatron cloak for early magic resist and then build it into a Banshee's Veil later on. They made it a lot cheaper. They removed some of the health, but you still have the spell item thingy effect. Blocking spell shield. There you go. You still have the spell shield effect on it, so yeah. Nothing much has changed for that. Spirit Visage. Gold unchanged, combined cost, magic resist down, health regen up. Passive healing increased. This is good, gonna be good on champions like Hecarim and stuff like that. Just more healing. Really nice. And Guardian Angel, as a... Is this a... No, okay. Guardian Angel, 300 gold cheaper. The magic resist went down on it, but the fact that you go 300 gold cheaper on GA is actually pretty big. Because picking it up faster, as a way of just having a second life, even though the magic resist is reduced, which is not the real problem, because magic resist is less important than flat AD. Like, attack, flat AD, what I'm saying, like, armor is more valuable than magic resist in the game. Because every single champion in the game does physical damage with their auto attacks. So even if you're a mage, you're gonna do physical damage with auto attacks. So armor is a more effective stat to have, because every single champion does physical damage, but not every single champion does magic damage. So this change actually makes it quite of interesting, because picking this up as an AD carry now, for example, is gonna be potentially more worth it. It's cheaper, it's gonna save you from champions that one-shot you, like Rengar, like Ziggs, like all those assassins are gonna have a lot more trouble killing you because you have GA. I think this is a pretty good change, making this cheaper for AD carries and stuff like that. So the Quicksilver Stash and the Mercurial Scimitar, sorry, however you want to pronounce it. They changed it now that they only remove crowd control debuff, so it doesn't remove Lucian's Q effect anymore. Like, you hit the first Q on people and then they can remove it by just pressing QSS. I imagine it doesn't remove Fiora ult anymore, it doesn't remove Zed ult anymore. So, I don't know about that Zed change, because this was pretty much the only way people had to counter Zed ult, AD carry wise. So I'm not really sure where this is going with that one. I think this is kind of an unfair change to certain AD carries. Because if you're against the Z now, you're gonna be pretty fucked. Like, there will be nothing you can... Yeah, you mean... I guess you can buy a Zonias, but... Yeah, I don't know about this one, man. I think the way QSS was, it was pretty healthy. I mean, sure, that it could block out entire Z ults. It sucked for the Z, but it was the only way to counter the Z for an AD carry. At this point, if Z gets on you as an AD carry right now, you're pretty much dead. So, I'm not so sure about this change, man. What is this? Monster have compared defensive. Let me see. Okay. I mean, sure. It's just a... Yeah. Whatever. This change is just whatever. You're not gonna really get any of these combination of items on any champions, I think. Like, Maw and Sterak's might be on some champions the case, but... I mean, it doesn't really matter. Bami Cinder, they nerfed the health a bit. I think that's pretty smart because Bami Cinder is pretty stupid item when you get it on certain top laners. You get this on like a Malphite, if you get this on like a Maokai early on, it's pretty dumb already, and nerfing the health a bit is... It's good. Like, this used to be like, I don't know, how much does Bami Cinder cost? Like 1,000, and... Let me see. 1100, alright. And then Giant's Belt is, okay, 1000. But this, yeah, I mean, getting the extra damage effect on Bami Cinder is just hella worth it. For that little bit of extra gold it offers. So, yeah, the passive from Bami Cinder is just too good. So they really need to nerf the HP a bit, and they did that, so that's fine. Sunfire Cape cost up. I think that's really good. Makes it a bit slower to get it. Like, this is a really bullshit item to get on if you're a top laner. And, let's example, you play Riven against Maokai. I mean, Maokai, once he gets Sunfire Cape, you're fucked. Like, straight up, you're fucked. Any type of AD top laner, the other guy gets a Sunfire Cape, you're fucked. So this is like 200 gold more expensive. Gonna slow it down a bit. Pretty much, yeah. I think it's a good change. It's not gonna change the fact that you're fucked if they get it, but it's still a good change. So Cinderhawk, like, damage down. But actually, is it damage down 2 per level? I mean, feels better per level, so it's gonna be less effective early on, but better later on. I mean, seems pretty fair, to be honest. The Vision Ward, they pretty much buffed this for Jhin. It has 4 base health now, so Jhin can actually kill it instead of having to reload for like ages to even kill the ward. It now regenerates 1 health every 3 seconds after 5 seconds out of... That's actually really nice. Now, if you zone people off the pink ward, you can actually try to keep your pink ward alive, and instead of it losing health slowly over time. So that's actually a nice change. I like that one. Alright, Righteous Glory. Looks to be... Active no longer speeds up allies. Wait, what? That looks... What? Active no longer speeds up allies. So it's only a speed up for yourself now. That's an interesting change. I cannot... On what champion would this be good then? Like, you used to only get this as like a supportive item for your team. To give your team that speed buff. But... if the active no longer speeds up your allies, I'm not really quite sure on what champion you would still get this. Because, for example, champions that use speed like Hecarim, this is not going to be a good item on Hecarim. Like, you don't get this item on Hecarim. There are much better options to get on Hecarim if you want the speed buff for yourself. So, I'm not sure about this change. I used to like this item as like a speed team up item, or a team speed up item. But since they're like, active no longer speeds up allies, not sure if this item is going to ever be used again. Warmox, health slightly reduced now. Oh, now grants CDR. I mean, sure. Health slightly reduced is not going to be a big deal because Warmox still gives you the insane amount of health regen. So, it's going to be fine. Relic shields. Charge cooldown, 60. I mean, health charge. I like this change. Charge cooldowns lower, so meaning that your support can get more gold. Seems pretty fair. Supports are pretty starved from gold mainly as well, so yeah. Especially when you compare it to like Frost's queen and all that kind of stuff. I think relic shields give you overall less gold, but now with this change it might like even out. Grieving wounds. Reduces self. Oh, they actually made grieving wounds better. Oh, that's actually nice. I like that one. And that was it for the items. Alright guys, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!